If you are a victim, a survivor of a crime, of any crime, but particularly domestic violence and sexual assault, our system is working every day to make you know that we will be here with you, for you.
This is the SIDEBAR, the official podcast of the Rockland County District Attorney's Office, where we take you behind the scenes, uncovering the stories, the challenges, and the people who work hard every day to keep Rockland County safe. Conversations you won't hear anywhere else. So, counsel, please approach. Tom Walsh, Rockland County District Attorney, and this afternoon I have the opportunity to speak to my good friend, Phyllis B. Frank, who's been involved in criminal justice services and programs for many years in Rockland County, helping the survivors and victims of domestic violence. It's a pleasure to see you, Phyllis. Thank you for coming in today.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm delighted. And though I have been working in behalf of victims and survivors for all of the years, I'm also the person who created the first domestic violence offender program in the state of New York, and the third oldest one in the United States.
I had an opportunity to speak to you the last couple of days, and you were telling me you had a happy event with your two sons.
Oh, thrilling. I have two adult men as my sons, and one of them was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago. And when he was in the throes of the very difficult treatment, he said on his bucket list was running the New York City Marathon. His brother is a marathoner. He called him. My son is completely cured, and they kicked it. They ran over the finish line together in 5 hours and 20 minutes. A highlight of my life.
May I say you're a very proud mother?
Yes, I'm beaming.
Well, tell us a little bit about how you came to Rockland County in the early days of your career.
Interesting. I actually lived in Brooklyn. My family moved to Boston, Massachusetts, actually Newton. And when I got married, I met a man who came from New York. We moved back to Riverdale, New York, and when I was pregnant with my first child, we decided to look for a house. We actually preferred Westchester, but couldn't afford it.
Oh, we won't tell anybody.
And our next step was Rockland County. I moved to Spring Valley, New York in 1965, and actually moved to Spring Valley because East Ramapo was reputed as the #1 school district in Rockland County, and it was.
Well, I was in Clarkstown High School then, so may I respectfully dispute that allegation now? I had a good schooling too, despite my best efforts.
I'm sure you did.
Phyllis, what's it like working at Safety and Change, and what are they all about for people of Rockland County?
They're a critical organization that offers overarching victim survivor services to victims and survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, human trafficking. And very interesting, we also provide comprehensive services to victims of all crimes. So we literally have a vision that victims and survivors have resources and support as they grow away from the time of trauma.
Well, we were talking just before, and you were telling me how you started the Batterers program in Rockland County with 2 judges I used to appear before. Could you tell us about that program and how it interacted with the people in Rockland County?
Absolutely. So when the domestic violence movement was in its earliest days, and by the way, there was a book with a very telling title that was imported from England in the late 1960s. The name of the book was Scream Quietly or the Neighbors Will Hear. And that just kind of exposes how upsetting it was to learn about kind of the untold numbers of women who are being mistreated And it was during those same years that I discovered an organization called Volunteer Counseling Service, and under the tutelage of a very brilliant woman who continues to be my mentor, Simona Chazen, I was recruited to be a volunteer counselor, and when it was possible for them to hire me, they did. And one of the very first programs that the director of that organization, Steve Shapiro, and I worked on together was we were learning about domestic violence, we were learning about women. We were really beginning to understand that women were not responsible for the violence being perpetrated against them. And we thought about the fact that if we were going to stop domestic violence, we certainly needed to respond to the crisis of women who were running away or looking for redress from this terrible relationship that they were in. But if we didn't stop the men, if we didn't figure out how to get men to stop abusing women, we were just putting Band-Aids on a problem. So I must say that batterer programs were developed prior to our really understanding what the core problem was.
How did the interaction with the criminal justice system change as the batterers program went forward?
You know, the criminal justice system, and, you know, in its inception, family court, and family court was the only court, it was a civil court that women could use when I first came into the battered women's movement. And the focus of family court, if you remember, was to keep the family together. And it was organizers and activists like myself from around the state who put pressure on legislators to change the criminal procedure law so that the goal of family court was to keep all members of the family safe. So we needed to start working to change the system. And in this community, I wanted to work with the people who were in the system, who I felt would be as outraged as I was about parts of the system that were not working in behalf of victims and survivors. And I met men like you, mostly men. There weren't that many women working in criminal justice at that time. There were some, but not a lot. And the idea that the criminal justice system needed to open up the doors of criminal courts, which we did. But then we needed to work together with the criminal justice system so that we would all have the same idea about what we were dealing with. And the ways that domestic violence were dealt with in those days were based on people not knowing what else to do. Police would walk a perpetrator around the block and tell him to cool off. Police would tell a woman who was being mistreated that maybe she shouldn't do whatever it was she did that provoked him to hit her. I mean, these were terrible maintenance of the status quo interventions. But we're many, many years from that, and the years have really been years of a word you used earlier, teamwork. Working together with the criminal justice system, the criminal legal system, to make sure that it would give a message loud and clear to the community that domestic violence is not acceptable here in Rockland County.
Could you tell us a little bit how the batterers program transitioned to the programs today? It's a big question.
It's so big, it's a 50-year question. But let me see if I can make sense of it. In the earliest days, the program was called the Spouse Abuse Educational Workshop. The Battered Women's Program was called Rockland Family Shelter. Notice that we didn't use gender-specific words.
I always knew it as the Batterers Program.
That's right? The Batterers Program, exactly. But it was originally called the Spouse Abuse Educational Workshop, and we changed it very quickly to Batterers Rehabilitation. But then we realized there was no way we could rehabilitate. And in fact, rehabilitate means you were once respectful and then you lost it. What we were really dealing with was a callousness that many, many men just absorb from a history and a culture that says men should be in charge, and if women aren't behaving properly, you can use a whole range of strategies to get her to do what you needed her to do or what you believed was her proper role, including if she was standing up and saying, no, this is not okay, including physical assault. So we changed the name from Batterer Rehabilitation Program to Batterer Intervention Program. Well, we soon came to realize that the word intervention, we were intervening in his life, but we were not intervening in his life with his partner. There was no way that just because he was ordered to us that we would be intervening in his life. Eventually it became the Domestic Violence Program for Men, which is what it is today. From the beginning, we really wanted to convince men that being abusive to their intimate partners certainly was hurting her, certainly was harming the children. And in the largest sense, it wasn't working for him either.
You're using gender-specific pronouns, but
Yes,
I understand
I am.
the services are open to all people, however they
100%.
identify, in whatever type of relationship that they may be in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No matter how people identify, when they're in intimate relationships, the patriarchal template for relationships is one of somebody's above the other.
Dominance and subservience.
Correct. And we know that young people today don't want dominance and subservience. They want relationships of egalitarian people, people who are each free to be fully adult. We don't have to agree with each other, but neither one of us uses strategies or tactics to undermine the other if we're doing something the other doesn't want. We want to learn ways to communicate, to compromise, and to live together where we both feel free.
So I'm an individual in Rockland County that believes they need help, they need assistance. How would they contact Safety and Change? What's the process?
The easiest way to get to us, if you can use the internet, Center for Safety and Change. You can call us on our 24/7 hotline, and that's something that everyone ought to know. There is always a human answering the phone, 24/7, 365 days a year. It's an easy number. It's 845-634-3344. There's a chat line. There's the internet. There are so many ways to find us, and we are here for our community.
What kind of specific services can you provide a survivor victim?
Support groups are one of my favorites, but advocacy, a connection with resources. We have an incredible legal department. We have exquisite services for children of survivors and for children who themselves are victims. We now have a special program in connection with the Humane Society that we can shelter pets so that a person is free to leave. We have incredible prevention services, Tom, where we go out, we provide a program at least twice a year for high school students, where high school students learn about healthy relationships and can help others in their school to know about what it's like to be in a healthy relationship.
How does Safety and Change interact with local law enforcement, our local police departments and sheriff?
One of the best programs that I've ever had anything to do with is our police liaison program. We have an advocate designated to every single police department in Rockland County. And every police department has designated either an officer, a detective, a lieutenant to be the police liaison with our advocates. And we have meetings just to meet together with police and advocates, sharing information about what we think we need to be able to do better. We have a coordinated criminal justice response team here in Rockland County called the Stop Fear Coalition, which the district attorney which the defense bar, courts, court personnel, police, all working very closely with Center for Safety and Change.
How are you interacting with my district attorney's office?
You know, the district attorney's office is beautifully interacting with us. We are talking and communicating in ways that I think have been vastly improved over the years. Because if we both have that we need to serve victims and survivors and deeply respect that we have very different jobs to do in that, working together can only make a much safer space in Rockland County.
Well, justice is partnership.
Yes, it is.
How can we improve the partnership?
I think we're doing it. I think we have to come to the table regularly and often. And I think we need to stay at the table. And it's not like we need to be here every day. But when there is a meeting of the Stop Fear Coalition, when I call you or you call me, we need to respond, and we need to respond quickly. It's all about working together.
What other agencies of government are you involved in on behalf of the victim survivor?
Well, every part of the criminal justice system, from parole to probation, police departments, obviously. We want to talk to the defense bar, Child Protective Service, the Department of Social Services. But in terms of serving victims and survivors, we also have to be involved with the mental health system. We have to make sure that when people go for treatment, that they're getting treatment that's informed by the analysis of why domestic violence happens. We want to talk to faith communities. We want the churches and the synagogues and the temples and the ashrams. We need faith community leaders at the table. We need our public schools and private schools. We need education at the table. And Center for Safety and Change is committed as we go forward into 2026 to reinvigorating the comprehensive, coordinated community response to domestic violence and all of these other issues.
Well, we do believe strongly in evidence-based prosecution.
Absolutely, I know that.
We work at all times very diligently to produce the evidence, but sometimes we get in a situation where we don't, good faith, ethically can bring the case forward, and how do we work with our victim survivor so they don't feel abandoned and that the system is working for them, subject to the requirements of the law, the Constitution.
Sure. Well, I want to add that we need the police to do evidence gathering. We need the police to do vigorous evidence gathering. And we have probably the blue ribbon trainer, police trainer in the United States of America, Mark Wynn, coming into Rockland County on December 11th and doing a full day of training to help police understand the crucial aspect of investigations, and your office, of course, as well. Every police chief will be receiving information about this training. It is most important for law enforcement, so we will be communicating directly with you and everyone in the criminal justice realm to get to this training. We're hoping to have a space big enough to handle a big audience. So we'd also like Department of Social Service, we would also like Child Protective Service, mental health providers. We'd like everybody to come, and we're right at the verge of getting our space for where we will present this training. But hold the date, everyone who hears this. It's December 11th. 2025.
Safety and Change as advocates, the District Attorney's Office as a victim survivor advocate.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about those roles for the victim survivor of crime?
Well, this is a hugely important role, because the one thing we want victim survivors to know, you're not alone. We have legal advocates who work very specifically in the court system. We have advocates who work with housing. We have advocates who work with anything that a victim survivor would need. It's up to us as a community to let everyone in our community know that if you are a victim a survivor of a crime, of any crime, but particularly domestic violence and sexual assault, our system is working every day to make you know that we will be here with you, for you.
What's the one thing you would want our listeners to learn or know from today's podcast?
That the District Attorney and Center for Safety and Change are working together along with other components in the Rockland County criminal legal system and the larger community in general, and support Center for Safety and Change.
Well, Phyllis, thank you. I enjoyed our conversation. I always learn a little more when we talk. I'm going to ask you the question, what is justice?
Justice is teamwork.